Hi, everyone. We are going to embark on our last topic for Module 1, which is our percent unit. And again, like unit rates, this is something that you will for sure be seeing for the rest of your life all over, especially if you are a shopper and like to save money. This is going to be very helpful for you. Um, Before you get started on the rest of this video, you need to make sure you have the following things ready: your notes, which say Module 1 Lesson 24 notes, a sharpened pencil. You are also going to need a black, a green, and purple, either colored pencil, marker, or crayon. So if you don't have those things, go over into the student materials area, pick them up, and get them ready for this lesson. Make sure you press pause before you go grab those things. Okay, take a look at your learning target. You're going to be able to explain that percents are related to part to whole ratios and rates where the whole is 100. That's going to be the big key for percents. This is a part of 100. You're going to be able to write a percent as a fraction over 100 or a decimal to the hundredths place. And you're going to see that connection between fraction, decimal, and percent with this lesson and the next lesson. All right, get your pencils ready. You're going to be filling in as you see red words this time coming up. So follow along on your notes. The first one, a percent of a number is the part per 100. So it tells you the ratio out of 100, and the symbol is the percent sign. So I want to give you a couple of clues here. Cent in Latin stems from 100. So, like a century is 100 years. So that's the indicator that it is 100. Per, you guys already know, means each. So this literally means for each 100. The percent sign, if you look at it closely, it kind of looks like a 100. You've got your 1 and your 2 zeros that make it look like a different way to make 100. So please know that percent is a number that is a part per 100. Here's an example. 10% means 10 out of every 100. So when 10% of people have ice cream, that means 10 people have ice cream if there are 100. If there were 500 people, though, then 50 would have ice cream. You're going to see working with 10% is a lot easier than trying to figure out different things percent wise without using your 10%. All right, our next exercise. On your paper, make sure you're following along. This is where you're going to need your black, green, and purple marker or crayon or pencil. Rob's Fruit Farm consists of 100 acres on which 3 different types of apples grow. On 25 acres, the farm grows Empire apples. McIntosh apples grow on 30% of the farm. The remainder, or what's left of the farm, grows Fuji apples. So you already know we're going to relate this to the percent because this is a 100-acre farm. On yours, you have, oh, this is going to get in the way. Let me move it up here. There we go. So on yours, you have this 10 by 10 grid, which is going to represent our apple farm. At the bottom of your paper, you see a color key and you have a part to whole ratio area. So the first thing we're going to do is create our color key. And on the bottom, your Empire apples are going to be the black marker. So write the word black next to Empire. Our McIntosh are going to be purple, which leaves green to be our Fuji apples. Make sure you write all 3 of those words there. Now we need to color code. So we're going to go back to our story. The first part says on 25 acres, the farm grows Empire apples. Well, if each one of these squares represents 1 acre, then I know I need to color 25 of them in black. Now, I just used the bees on mine so you could still see the lines. So I want you to go ahead and color in lightly. You don't want to make it too dark. 25 of those. If you need to press pause, please do so. The next section, McIntosh apples, grow on 30% of the farm. I'm going to put these over here. That's where my purple goes. The reason I did it on that side is because I know that these are rows of 10, so it was just easier to put the 3 rows of 10 next to each other rather than trying to separate it all out. You don't have to do it that way. That's just the way I chose to do it. Then it says the remainder of the farm grows Fuji. So I know that I have to put my green in the rest. And if I count up my rows, I've made 4 rows of 10 and 1 row of 5 that are green, which is 45. So the total here is 100. Now we're going to translate this to part to whole ratios. So if I'm looking at Empire, the part is 25 and you know that the whole farm is 100. So my part to whole ratio here is 25 to 100, and that simplifies to 1 to 4. My McIntosh or my purple boxes, I know that there's 30 of them. So part of this farm grows McIntosh, which is 30 out of the total, which is 100 altogether. And my remaining, you can just count them all up like we did, 45, or you could have added 25 plus 30 and subtracted that from 100 to get your answer. The part that is Fuji is 45 out of 100. All right, let's take a look at your next exercise on your next page. This is exercise 3. I gotta get this out of the way again. And we're going to write a percent, decimal, and fraction for the shaded areas in each of these pictures. So this first one, these are all 100 square grids, and I see 2 columns that are shaded darker than the rest. Well, I know that that is 20 because these are rows of 10. So if I'm going to write this as a fraction, decimal, and a percent, this is how it would look. And I need you to fill that in picture A. 20%, which as a fraction, you already know means 20 out of 100. And then I translate that to a decimal as 0.20. The next one, picture B, I do see 3 different things shaded here, but I'm going to consider that I'm saying shaded versus non-shaded, regardless the one's darker than the other. So for picture B, I have 50% is shaded, which means 5 of those rows of 10 are shaded, even though they're shaded 2 different colors, which translates to 0.50 and 50 over 100. So all 3 of these mean the same thing. This is the percent, this is the decimal value, this is the fractional value. And my last one, C, you can pause for a moment, count up all of those gray if you want to see if you were right before I tell you what it is. If not, you can just keep going. We have 48% that are shaded, which if I put that in decimal form, I know that it's 0.48, which is 48 over 100. Now, all of these things could be simplified to a fraction that's not over 100, but since we're just learning about the fractional parts, I want to keep this over 100. If you take a look at the bottom of your paper, it says what ratio is being modeled in each picture. Picture A is 20 to 100. That's the ratio. Picture B is 50 to 100. And then you now know that picture C is 48 to 100. Okay, make sure you have all of that filled in before you move on to the next page. We're going to take this chart and do some of it together, and some of it I'm going to have you pause the video and do it on your own. So taking a look at the 6% that is on the screen, we are going to write this in decimal, fraction, ratio, or model form. So 6%, I know a lot of people are going to do this. You're going to say that it is 0.60. That's 60%. So we want to make sure that we're not getting the 6 confused. You have to take that invisible decimal point, which is after the 6, and move it 2 places to the left. Whoops, that's really bad writing. So this really means 0.06. Please make sure you write that in. As a fraction, all I do is take the number that's in front of the percent and put it over 100. So that's 6 over 100. In my fractional model, we're going to skip this part, but you could make a tens frame. I know that's messy. And then just shade in 6 of them. We're not going to worry about doing that part right now. All right, moving on to the 60. So if we're taking what we said, we're going to take our decimal 2 places to the left, which now that means I have 0.60. Yep, that's a 6. Sorry, I got a little bit messed up. My fraction, I take the number that is in front of the percent, put it over 100, and my ratio is 60 to 100. Again, you don't have to do the model, but you could label 60 out of 100 shaded in. Let's look at the same thing with 600. Taking my decimal, move it 2 places to the left. So that means my decimal is 6.0. And you know that you don't really actually have to write the 6.0 or the 0.0. I wanted to show you that it was there though. The next thing is to put it over 100. So again, just take that number, 600, and put it over 100. And then as a ratio, 600 to 100. And we'll nix the model. So the process is the same no matter if we're talking about 1-digit numbers, 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers, 500-digit numbers. It doesn't matter. The process is going to be the same. Okay, here's your job. You're going to do that process on your own with 32%. You do not have to do the picture model. That is totally fine. So you're going to do this on your own, writing 32% as a decimal, fraction, and a ratio. Then also these ones. Now, when you're looking at your paper, you may actually have to come up with the percent. So this time I've got the decimal. I have to come up with the percent, the fraction, and the ratio. No model. This one, I have to come up with the percent, the decimal, and the ratio. No model. This one has the model, and you need to come up with all 4. So, giving you a hint here, this is 10, and 7 of them are shaded. Okay, so use your context clues, use your notes, fill in the rest of this chart on your own. And before you move on to exercise 5, you need to come get that checked from me. Okay, so if you are continuing, that means you were sent back to go ahead and move on to exercise number 5. So we're going to look at this a little bit together. Mr. Brown shares with the class that 70% of the students got an A on the English vocabulary quiz. If Mr. Brown has 100 students, I want you to create a model that shows how many students received an A. So we are going to do this like we did the other example. So you should have, I think you should do it on the side where you have a little bit more space to draw. So I'm going to make my 10 by 10 grid that is probably going to be pretty sloppy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And the same way across. You guys are doing this too. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, that's a little lopsided. I know, it's fine. Now we're going to show 70%. So I know that that means I need to shade in 70 of these. So I'm going to just really loosely color this in yellow. So we've got ketchup and mustard going on. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I know that's the best artistic thing you've ever seen in your life. Don't make fun of me. I know that I've got 30 left over. So now you can answer the questions. So what fraction of the students received an A? That would be 70 over 100, 70 out of 100. And now we want to represent that using a decimal. Remember, if it was 70%, that invisible decimal is after the 7 or the 0, and you're going to move it 2 places. So that means 0.7. Now, how are the decimal, the fraction, and the percent all related? They are all equivalent. They all mean the same thing. So you can write, they are equivalent. We've done that before. All right. If you turn your paper, let me clear my screen. Turn your paper to the last one. You're going to complete the Marty Owning a Lawn service on your own. I'm not even going to put the answers up here. You are going to then come and check with me to make sure you are good to go. If you are, I will give you your marble and permission to move on to the next activity.